Jim Talent is the former senator from Missouri. He's with the Bipartisan Policy Center. Jim, the Senate Democrats and President Biden, with the concurrence of Leader McConnell, have put on the table at the White House a deal that funds Israel, Ukraine, Taiwan, and makes some changes to the law at the border, but does not include a border wall. I urge Speaker Johnson to reject this and demand the $6 billion, that might only be $2 billion, to build immediately and to authorize, without regard to any other law or treaty, the construction of 900 miles wall of border, otherwise walk away. What do you say?
Well, I agree with you, but what I don't understand here, you, is look, in any negotiations, as you know, the side that has the leverage is the side that does not need a deal, right? So I don't understand why we didn't say from the beginning to the White House, look, if you want some prearranged deal, you have to give us what we want on the border. If you don't, then go ahead and bring your legislation out. And we will offer amendments for every aspect of border policy, including the wall, that we want. And you guys can vote on it. It's the White House that needs the deal because they don't want to have to vote on the Senate floor for the wall, for changes in asylum policy, for remain in Mexico. So that's what
this is so obvious to me. Why aren't Republicans articulating it? Because it seems to me that Senate Republicans are afraid to ask for the wall.
Well, again, I think they probably ask for the wall. But my question is, why are people afraid of a debate on this? I mean, do we never actually debate legislation anymore? Make the Democrats defeat those amendments on the Senate floor. I don't think they have the votes. Is John Tester and Bob Casey and Sherrod Brown and Kristen Sinema going to vote against this border legislation this year? I'd roll the dice.
I don't think. Senator, is it possible? You're a very accomplished legislator. I think it's possible to write a bill that says, notwithstanding any other law, the Endangered Species Act, the Clean Water Act, the Clean Air Act, NEPA,
Sure.
Notwithstanding any sovereign treaty with a sovereign tribe, notwithstanding any treaty with Mexico, we will build a wall, and we will do it this year with this money, and we'll be done by July or August. Do you think that's possible?
Well, I'm not an engineer. I don't know if you could build the wall by July or August, but you absolutely could write legislation like that. You could say, look, we'll just have a debate. They're the ones who don't want the debate. They don't want to have to vote on this stuff. So say, look, if you want a deal, you have to give us what we want. And then we'll have bipartisan legislation and your people will have cover. But if you don't want to
do you think the wall would be enough to overcome the Ukraine aid skeptics? Because I hope it is, because we need all four things.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, I think there's majorities in both houses for Ukraine aid. There are some Republicans who don't want to vote for it, but I mean, and that's fine. They can vote how they want. They voted against it in the past, but it will carry in the House and the Senate. The key to the thing is we have an opportunity now. See what they have now, and I wonder if they really understood the strategy of the negotiations. This is a must-pass bill for the Democrats. So that means that means they have to debate this bill. So let them bring up the bill. Again, I don't want to, nobody has explained to me why we can't do that. I suppose there's a small chance they can keep all 51 Democrats together and defeat your legislation. Well, you've got a pretty good issue then. You're the one who said, look, if they don't want to give it to us, we'll go to the people. And I agree with that. But first, I would get the votes on the floor of the Senate. You see what I mean? I would make them vote. This is how constitutional government and congressional government is supposed to work. I don't understand why we can't ever debate legislation anymore.
I don't think the Republicans remember how to play poker. They have a royal flush. They have a royal flush. And they're not playing a royal flush.
What they didn't fixate on the beginning is, it's in my opinion, it's the White House and the Democrats who don't want to debate these issues. So I don't think we need a deal. What we need is a debate, okay? And I would have said to the White House from the beginning, look, we've wanted to vote on the Senate floor for the wall going back to the Trump administration. You're the ones who haven't let us vote on the wall. So
yeah, I do have a theory, Senator. We sent some nice people. We went to a gunfight with a hammer. and we sent nice people in who did not know how to negotiate. It's time for Leader McConnell to take over. What do you think?
Well, look, I don't criticize people on either side of the aisle unless I know the details of what happened. I'm not going to call out anybody in particular. I've said to you before, I think Senator Lankford, Senator Cornyn, they're great senators. I know them both, especially John Cornyn. So I don't know. I don't know the dynamics of this. That's why I'm saying I've not had anybody explain to me why we don't have the strongest position here, because they're the ones who don't want to vote on these measures. Okay. And I would probably the same thing could be worked on in the House. And again,
well, what I'm going to quote you as saying is, this is a deal the Democrats must have. Am I quoting you correctly?
That's absolutely right. Sure.
I'm going to quote you on that because that is the bottom line. This is a deal the Democrats must have so the Republicans get what they want, and we want 900 miles of border wall. Jim Talent.